Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over the results of my one skirmish I did with Ira, drone Ira, sort of fatigue Ira list. Kind of talk about my matchups, some slight changes I would make to the deck, and yeah, just have a good time. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to check out my other videos. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below. So, yeah, I wanted to get into this. I only did one skirmish this year, and because Blitz for me, it's not that it's not enjoyable. It's just not something I'm gonna like go to a lot of events for. It's just kind of for fun, not something you really test for. So I ended up wanting to just take Ira. Ira is really good right now. Drone Ira is one of the best decks in the format, and I took a very, very fatiguey list to this skirmish. So going into it, I was really wanting to just play. A lot of people are playing that fatigue game plan. There's a lot of different decks out there right now, and so I wanted to kind of be able to combat that. And then my sideboard, I pretty much was hedging for Kano and then a little bit of like Vincent I was expecting to be able to have to hedge for. And our field, normally we play at Reaper Games in Denton, Texas, and for ProQuest and skirmish level events, we normally show out. Like there's normally 30 plus players at skirmish events, and there's normally, like for ProQuest, we get like 40-50 players, so we have a pretty good scene. For this year though, a lot of people just didn't care about skirmish as much. Nats is coming up, and even Worlds, and people are just really focused on that. We have really high level players here. Brody Spurlock lives around here. We have like Ellie and Chase and all those people that are just really good players, and they're really focused on like that aspect of it. So skirmish is more for fun. I didn't really know what to expect meta wise. I know what people like to play typically, but I knew like there'd be a lot of chain. I figured there'd be a Kano or two because we normally have a Kano player in the area, but he didn't show up. So overall is a good time. But I played 4 rounds. There was a cut to top 4, not top 8, since there was only like 16ish. It was like, I forgot the exact number, but it was a number to where it was only a cut to top 4. So you had to do really well. You pretty much had to go undefeated or lose one and get breakers. Spoiler, I ended up getting 5th place, which was really weird. I won't go too into it because it's a skirmish at the end of the day. It's fine. I went 3-1. I lost round 2 out of 4. And going into round 4, I was at table 3. And like you think about top 4, right? Like table 3, it's pretty much a winning in. For at least I thought it was. And I won. And the person who was at table 4, Ellie, who's an amazing player on Bolton, ended up jumping me in the tiebreakers. She won hers on table 4, and I won mine on table 3. But because of strength of schedule, she jumped me and got top 4. Which again, Ellie's an awesome player, and like I'm not upset about it at all. I was just very confused. When I won that final match, I was like, oh, I'm in top 4. Sweet, let's go. But it's fine, not a big deal. Ended up getting 5th, so like literally bubbling out at the very top at 3-1. But I'll go over the matchups. Again, I was hedging a lot for Kano, so a lot of my decision points were based off like potential that, but also like fatigue decks. I knew a lot of people would be playing that aren't on fatigue would be playing chain, so I kind of wanted to like hedge for all of those. So the equipment suite wouldn't change anything here. It was all really good. Flick Knives actually ended up winning me a game. I'll talk about that when I get to round 3. Tunic obviously is the easy one. Tunic in this deck isn't as crazy, but it is really useful to be able to go Kadachi 2-cost attack, which was very common. Also being able to hold my Tunic counter with Oasis or Spite on turns where I knew I was going to need it was really nice. Crown Province is amazing. You really don't need Mask of Momentum with this style deck, and then Breezer Boots for the block. And this had some application in one game where I ended up hitting with Fluster Fist and popping Breeze and was able to attack again. So as far as the matchups, so round 1 was actually against Emperor. Emperor was very interesting. Emperor is actually not that bad right now. He doesn't have a ton of wins because a lot of people aren't playing him, but he's not bad. Not a bad deck. I wasn't sure what Emperor he was running. I know Emperors like to run like the 0-cost attacks when it comes to Arcane, like Ether Dart and things like that. And they'll run like some of the bigger attacks like maybe Spindle or any like 2-for-5 Arcane attack. But I know they also run like a lot of 0-cost attacks in general, like Scar for Scar, Ravenous Rabble. Obviously, they run the Command and Conquers. So I was trying to decide on what AB to run. Looking back on it, I should have just ran AB3 with Lantern, Gloves, and Flippers, and then kept my Crown of Providence for their Command and Conquer. But I ended up running AB2. I ran gloves and flippers. I kept the Crown of Province. I kept both Kodachis. It ended up working out, but AB2 was a little bit dicey. I had to really rely on Oasis Respite. I might still run AB2 in that matchup. You have to really rely on the Oasis Respites. But the way that game went, we both went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think I had it was like a 11-5 lead or something like that, 13-5 lead. I was really making the most of my plays. And it got to a point where he had me at 5 life, but I had Arsenal and Oasis Respite, like literally 6 turns back. And I had Tunic up. So he knew I had Oasis. Like, we both knew that my Arsenal was Oasis, which was really funny. And I knew that he was setting up for a 2-for-5 arcane attack, maybe mixed with a regular attack. So I just held it till he was down to like 4 cards, and he had to do his combo turn. And then he did it. I Oasis his attack and pitched 1 to the arcane, so I blocked his whole attack, and then blocked another one. He ran out of cards, and I ended up killing him because he had ran out of cards. So that was a good win. It was a grindy matchup, though. I think I won like legitimately 5 life to 0. It was super grindy. I was down even pitching a lot. I was still down to like 12, 14 cards. But ended up winning that. Round 2 is Chain. I lost. That game was just a throwaway game. It's just Chain being Chain. I played the matchup fine. I brought AB1 into it. I had him at like, I don't remember the exact life total. It was like he was on like 7 or 6, and I was on like 11. So I was winning, and he legitimately did a 36 damage chain turn. Well, it would have been 36 if we would have kept playing out the turn, because he did the math for it. I wanted to see how much he would do. He went Art-of-War, banish draw 2, banish draw 2. Then he did Shadow of Ursa, banishing. And when he flipped off the top, if I can remember this exact sequence, he flipped off like Unhallowed Rites and a Seeping Shadows yellow. Then he Art Award from Arsenal off Tunic. Banished, draw 2. He banished a Shadow of Ursa, drew 2. Then he did again, second Art of War, banished I believe it was a Rift Bind, drew 2. And then he went Shadow of Ursa, go again, banishing a card. Then he went Shadow of Ursa, go again. Then he went Howl from Beyond. I don't remember the exact cards he pitched exactly, but I just know this was a sequence. And I think he went Howl from Beyond, Shackle, Rift Bind, Seeping Shadows. By this point I was dead. Seeping Shadows, Unhallowed Rites, something like that. It went up to 36 damage, and I blocked my whole hand, all my equipment, and still died by like 10 damage. So literally nothing I could do. He quite literally hit the nuts. Chase is a really good player too, so like that's Chain, right? I wasn't even upset about it. Like, it does suck getting blown out like that, but nothing you can do. I played the matchup fine, just lost to a power turn. Which is so funny that people are complaining about all these fatigue decks, and then you got decks like Chain running around. Anyway, round 3 was against a Yoji. Yoji's actually very funny because Yoji's good. I keep telling people Yoji is like one of the better decks. Like, not a top S tier deck, but that's an A tier deck. It just, people don't play it. Like, people don't want to play it, or people haven't chose to play it. But if more people represented that deck, and I'm gonna do the meta breakdown for Skirmish this week after the Skirmish results come in again. If more people played that deck, it'd be a top deck in the format. It's just people don't play it because it is insanely good at being grindy and grinding you out and playing correctly. Its ability doesn't really matter for itself, but it has access to like shield, has access to all these different cards, and it can be really hard to do. So the second I sat down from Yoji, I knew for a fact it was going to be a go to time, or a go to deck out type situation. I did not expect for either of us to get down to 0. He was running like sigils, healing balm, like all the defense reactions. So I knew I had to use my Command and Conquerors very, very well, and I had to almost wait to use them at times where he was holding a hand. I didn't know exactly what he was running. I saw him pitch a Terra Sunder in the first cycle, so I was like, okay, he has something with that. And then he used a Righteous Cleansing very early on as well, so I was like, okay, I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure he's trying to combine a Terra Sunder and Righteous Cleansing with like a full 5-card hand to close out the game. So there was 2 turns specifically where he was holding his cards, and I had the Command and Conquer. One time I had an Arsenal, the next time I had it in my hand. And normally I would have Kadachi like another attack. The first time I had Command Conquer and Arsenal with a Drone Brutality in hand with a blue and Tunic. And I normally would have just done Kadachi Drone and kept my Command Conquer, but he kept holding his cards. So I ended up doing Command Conquer at the end, which forced him to block because Terra Sunder was in his arsenal, I believe. Or Righteous Cleansing was in his arsenal. So that kind of like screwed his play there. And then I did the exact same thing later on. And honestly, I never play for deck out, but in that game, I was playing for deck out. The funny thing is, I ended up beating him. I got him to 0. He only had like 5 cards in deck at this point, maybe less. He had like 3 cards in deck. And I had like 15. My Kadachi game plan, even though he had Rampart, like it's just better. I knew that as long as I attacked with my drones, the key to this matchup and not decking out, and for you all that maybe are playing like even the Mirror and Drone Ira, or the or playing Yoji, or playing like a fairly fatigued Bravo list, the biggest key is 2 things. 1, using your Command and Conquers at very high points when they're trying to hold their hand. Obviously, it's a little bit of timing based, but if you could Arsenal Command and Conquer in a fatigue matchup and use it in a time frame where they're trying to hold to like then push, it's really good. The second thing, it's very minute. Do not use if you can help it, do not use your Journal Brutalities on defense in a fatigue matchup. You want to use these on offense because you think about it. If you have a blue drone and a red drone in hand, do you want to block for 4 and cycle them back, and you technically didn't take any cards from their hand, or do you want to Kadachi red drone brutality for 7 and then you take 2 cards from the hand? Like, right, you're gonna come out more card positive if you're able to hold one of these drones in your hand to attack with it for 5 or 7 the next turn. You're going to rip more cards from their deck than just cycling, because either way these cards are going to cycle back in your deck, so you might as well try to use them in a way that forces them to give up cards, right? And say you just giving up cards. So that was really important. Ended up winning that. It was super grindy game, but I ended up flick kniving. I got him to 2, and I don't think people realize like the way this deck works is very similar to Brute, where like you cannot go to 2 life against me because I'm just going to flick knives you. Unless you have a sigil, I'm just going to kill you. And he had used both sigils at that point. I knew he had, so I knew I had it. So I ended up winning that. I was 2-1. Went into the last round against a boost dash. They started out with Teklo Core, not Pounder, which was very interesting to me. I meant to ask the player like what their reasoning for that was, because if you're boost dash and you're trying to go for just the nuts, right? If you're trying to go for a maximum velocity turn, maybe the Teklo Core helps you be able to pay for that max velocity. I guess that's their thought process if I had to guess. But they definitely were boost dash all the way. I don't think they ever shot their pistol at me. But they boosted away 1 max velocity. I noticed that I was probably going to go a deck out at that point. And so I arsenaled a Oasis Respite, and they did like a play where they boost. They pulse wave harpoon on their 3rd attack, but I had a D-react and a 3-block and an Oasis in hand, so they couldn't rip a card from my hand. I was going to block with the 3-block anyway, and I had an Oasis with Tunic up. So when they maximum velocity'd, I activated Tunic, instant speed, and layer step, blocked with Tunic, blocked with another piece of equipment, and then Oasis. So I ended up blocking like 6 of it out of 10. So they only took 4 there, and they boosted away the other maximum velocity. So at that point, it was just a matter of time before they decked out. Ended up winning that game pretty easily. For the most part, I was at like 9 life. So yeah, I was 3-1. I went 3-1. I was on table 3 going into the last round, and I won. So like even before the round, we were like, okay, so these 2 tables, whoever wins, basically it's top 4. So I won, but didn't get top 4. Got 5th. Super fun though. Enjoyed it a lot. Our top 4 ended up, I don't know who won, but it ended up being 3 chains and a Bolton. If I would have gotten top 4, it would have been 3 chains and an Ira. So I probably would have had my work cut out for me either way. But it was super fun. Enjoyed it. As far as changes to the deck, right? Like if we're talking in that sense, some people have mentioned like running yellow drones over blue drones because it can't pitch for Kadachis. You are correct on that. However, I like having blue. I was hedging for Kano. So if I'm still hedging for Kano, I want to have more blues in my deck, which is why I was running blue drone. Otherwise, I agree with you. Another change I might make is the yellow flick flax and yellow that all you got. I might end up just making these 3-block attacks, right? Maybe add in sensors, add in, because sensor would be 1 for 6 off of that, or 1 for 5. Adding in maybe take the tempo, something that's a 3 block attack. Yes, the Flick Flack synergy is really good. I actually end up keeping Flick Flack and just getting rid of that all you gots. I don't think they're that insanely good into the Runeblade matchups. I already feel kind of favored into Runeblade, even against Vincent. So I probably would end up changing that all you got to attack, just to give myself a little more threats in deck. And that's it. I really wouldn't change anything else. These are the only 2 cards I would look at. Maybe Flick Flack, taking yellow Flick Flack away, and that all you got, but that's about it. So other than that, really enjoyed the deck. Wouldn't make any changes. I did really well in testing the deck. I played well. Like, my only loss at the tournament was against a 36 damage chain turn against a really talented field of players. So even though it was a small field. So yeah, ended up enjoying it. Let me know what you think of the list though. How did your skirmish seasons go? I'd really like to hear, the different types of fun stuff that people were making. But yeah, if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If not me, it's totally fine. Go to our Flesh Bug Career, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much. Have a good day.